This week on RSBANDB Update, the Temple of Aminishi is here, putting the elite in elite dungeons. We have a rundown of combat mechanics, rewards, and ask the question, is it too hard? Also, the future of Treasure Hunter, AI's playing DotA, and is Captain Picard coming back? This is RSBANDB Update, episode 677, recorded Thursday, June 28th, 2018, putting the elite in elite dungeons. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for RSBANDB Update. Tanis is in this week. Welcome back, Tanis.
Thank you, Shane.
And you're here with your beautiful voice. David, you're also here. You are here to talk about this from the combat side of things. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, we had a bit of an experience with this, didn't we? But
yeah,
we'll get to that.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And you hear David, and you see, and we're at a point here where people might be wondering, oh, these guys have nice voices. I think David has a nice voice too, right?
Thank you.
And I got a face for radio.
Right, and we're actually gonna discover that at some point in July, believe it or not. I don't know what David's face looks like. I've never seen him before, but. What do you think? You think you have the radio face or more than a radio face, David?
Oh, I think I've got radio, television, magazine, whatever. Face should be all over the place. Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll have you back when it's time for video then, but more on that later. So this is the first elite dungeon that Jagex has put into the game, the Temple of Aminishi. And you need to do at the end of it what they're effectively calling to kill the Azure Serpent. So the only thing you really need to do to begin this is do the Impressing the Locals quest, which is the quest that you do when you're engaging with the Ark for the first time. But beyond that, I think requirements that are listed are all based on, your combat proficiency, let's say. There are no hard requirements for it, but the more combat prowess you have, I think the better you'll do, and I think we proved that this week, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get one thing out of the way first. Is this thing replacing Daemonheim for dungeoneering training?
No.
Okay.
Not in my book.
What do you think, David?
I mean, for me, dungeoneering training means sinkholes and DG dailies, so definitely not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think from my count, I might be a couple K off on this. The 2 dungeon runs I did in completion that weren't the story mode, I ended up with around 175-ish K dungeoneering XP, which when you think about it for the amount of time spent in and the resources, that's really not that much, and you're going to be better off running those larges or even just doing sinkholes to do that every day. So I don't think this is replacing dungeoneering as a training method, so I think people can rest easy about that, because I know there was some concern going in that might have been the case with this. So...
no, they made sure that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah, I think this is just a raid that happens to give some bonus dungeoneering XP.
Right, and see, that's the funny thing. It's listed under the MASCAB category in the grouping system. So in a way, it is
right. Can
we say RuneScape's first official raid, kind of like what World of Warcraft has, though obviously not as many people. So,
and I wish it had been billed that way, because I was looking for another avenue for dunge tokens and experience, and I wasn't looking for a super kick you in the nuts kind of combat experience, and that's what I got.
Yeah,
I will say that currently story mode is from what I've heard, that story mode is the best place to farm dungeoneering tokens in the game. It's like 200,000 dungeoneering tokens an hour.
On story mode? I didn't even know you got anything on that. I thought...
Yeah, that's what someone said. They could have meant the normal mode, but I do know that someone told me, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but it seems like story mode, from what I've heard, is excellent for farming tokens, although not XP.
I did get clearing the first room on story mode. I did get those same 5K tokens. So.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
so you get
thing.
the same in normal mode then.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh, okay. But the boss would be a third of what it was last night.
No, it's the same amount of HP. It's just a third of the damage.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering if you just redo the first room over and over and over.
Right, and we were chatting about this. We were chatting about this in Clan Quest. If you go up to everything up until Siryu at the end, the first 2 rooms, effectively, that is actually good money per hour in terms of actual GP from what you get. So,
interesting.
So it's not necessarily about going all the way to the final boss as we did. It's just about, running through these first 3 rooms, through the first, 2 bosses, or through the first boss, and then I think beyond that to the end of the second one does that. So that's going to be an interesting method to try going forward, even on story mode. And, I think when it comes down to it, Tanis, what did you do on story mode in terms of how far did you get?
I actually never tried the story mode.
Okay.
I went into it thinking that you didn't really get anything but lore for story mode, so for me, I thought, well, what's the point in that? That's basically a practice mode, right? And so I just went into it. The first time, I literally didn't make it halfway through the first room. I just got surrounded and mobbed, and I was like, are you kidding me? This is supposed to be trash mobs, but they're not.
No, they're not.
Not at all. And it just...
And I think we can talk about it at this point right now. So basically what happened is I think it was the second day it was out, David and I took a run through it, duo. We got to the boss, and what would you say, 35 minutes probably, the final boss?
Yeah, within that amount of time. I think it took a couple tries on that first boss, and I think we got the second boss in the first attempt.
Yep.
Right? And that's probably about right.
Yeah. And then we did a number of tries on the final boss, and food issues, and me running around with like a chicken with my head cut off because I was trying to attack and evade, and my character was running into range to fire off the magic spells, and unfortunately that yielded issues with staying alive. So that was a stumbling point to us. And then yesterday, on Wednesday, the third day it was out, you, me, and one of your friends, Justin, took another run through it, and we got to the final boss, and what would you say? Half hour or less, 25 minutes, I think?
I think it was a little less than that. I think it was maybe 18 minutes or something.
Yeah. So, and then, time was an issue, so we had to log out, and we didn't get to perform the kill on the boss, but we would have with our trio. I think that would have been a fairly certain kill, right?
Yeah, definitely. Justin's very good, and he has a lot of kill count, and I have quite a few kill count as well. So we were pretty. I think we would have been pretty comfortably able to do it. And
on one of our runs on the second day, you and I got it down to 27K life points. 27K life points left. Then
right, and that was with the pillar having like 40K left. There's only one pillar left out of the 3, so
right.
We would have gotten it for sure.
So let's rewind a bit. So that's a basic high-level overview of the dungeon. There's 3 main bosses and 5 mini-bosses you can fight. You don't need to fight the mini-bosses, but you do need to kill things along the way to open up the little force field paths. And, I went in first with Melee. Tanis, I think you went in with Melee first, right?
Yeah.
And then...
that didn't work out well.
Right, and then switching to Mage makes everything a lot easier, specifically ice magics, because you can just basically just ice everything and do massive AoE with that, and that's definitely the preferred way to go for this. And from what you say, that's the preferred way to go for most high-level combat as well, high-level bossing.
Yeah. Magic is just so versatile and flexible. It's the best style for tanking. It's the best style for damage. Plus, you've got access to the ice spells and the blood spells and spellbook swap and vulnerability and just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So after you run through, effectively the first 2 rooms, you don't need to kill everything. That was one thing that I did in my first run through story mode. It took forever. But effectively what you can do is when you first run into the dungeon, keep on the left-hand side of the room and kill the various things that you need to lower those force fields, and then make your way through that. There's one huge group that are practicing combat maneuvers. You'll want to kill them. Then you have a couple more medium level NPCs to kill before you get to the first boss, which is the Sanctum Guardian. There's a number of dragons on the pathway to him. You'll have to kill them as well. And I'll just let David explain a bit about the Sanctum Guardian and its specials and how that fight works now. The first boss.
Yeah, the Sanctum Guardian is sort of a boss that doesn't do much damage to you, assuming that you can time movement precisely. It's kind of good in this way because Siriu is very much about being able to move and dodge obstacles, so it seems to me like it fits very naturally thematically, which is that there's not a whole lot of damage as long as you're able to move and respond somewhat quickly. And so there's ranged attacks that don't do a whole lot of damage, a melee attack that's fairly well televised that you can use resonance for, or just flick to melee. The sort of bomb. I know, Shane, you took a couple tries to figure out how to do it, but it seemed like you knew how to do it after.
I got it after a while.
Yeah, you get this sort of bar above your character.
Yeah, the blue bar that's ticking down.
Yeah, and when it goes to 0, a bomb explodes, and you want to put it away from your teammates because it's permanent AoE damage. And then there's this kind of like water spout attack. It reminds me of like a Pokemon.
Yeah,
water spout or something.
it's like a Blastoise attack.
Yeah, it goes around the room starting in, let's see, it's at the northwest corner, and then it wraps its way around. And so if you just kind of stand northeast, you're able to move a few squares to the west and dodge it completely. So you can definitely do the entire fight without using any food or supplies as long as you're dodging everything. But of course, for people not used to both dealing with mechanics and doing damage, that could mean a really, really long fight. And the longer the fight goes, of course, the more chance of making a mistake. But nothing can kill you.
Right. I think the most is like 4.5K.
Yeah, or 6.5K, right?
Yeah.
So it was like 6.5K that you would take? Yeah.
Yeah, and, the issue in this... Well, I'll let Tanis tell everyone what his issue with this was.
Well, I mean, let me just say, like, David's really, really damn good. Because he got me through that boss, and I literally could see one leg and a claw. And because of the way my screen works, I have it magnified, so that's great to be able to see my character, but that's literally all I could really see what was going on. So by the time that those water specials would start, I should have already clicked seconds prior to that, but by the time I see that it's happening, I couldn't even get away when I would try. So I ended up having to just literally forget the whole fight and stare at my health bar on my action bar and just eat. Then that's literally all I could do. But I mean, that's why you go with people that are good at this stuff. Cause there's no way I could have, done that on my own.
And this boss has 450k life points to run through. Now, in terms of jumping up from solo to duo to trio, what are we seeing in terms of scaling? Does it scale in terms of difficulty, or does it scale in terms of life points? These bosses.
I think it just like basically doesn't scale too much. I think solo is just dramatically more challenging than duo, and duo is a bit more challenging than trio. There's some life point scaling of certain mechanics, like on Siriu, for example, but I could be remembering wrong, but I don't think that the HP of the bosses scale. And even if they did, 450k divided by 3 is definitely a lot less HP than what a solo player would have to do. So if you want to tackle this, I wouldn't recommend doing it solo. I think that you're really increasing the challenge on yourself unnecessarily.
Yeah. And, you speak of mechanic life point scaling with Siryu. Does it make it harder or easier with more?
Much easier still. So, for
Okay.
example, with Trio, those 3 pillars up top, remember,
Right.
they're 250k each in Trio, 200k each in Duo, and 150k each in Solo. But if you do like the math, 750k divided by 3 is 250. Whereas in a solo kill, you have to do 450k damage because it's 150 times 3. So even though it is scaled, it's still an extra 200,000 damage that you have to do in solo versus what would theoretically be 3 evenly skilled players in a team.
All right. So effectively, then we can summarize the first boss, the Sanctum Guardian, as just a couple of mechanics: the water spout mechanic, and making sure that when you get that little blue health bar above your head, you run away and tuck that somewhere that's not going to interact with your teammates. Beyond that, I don't think there's much else left to say for the first boss, is there?
Yeah, just the melee hit. Remember, when it kind of dips down, it does a melee hit, but that can't really kill you. It hits maybe 4K, 5K at most.
All right. Tanis, you have anything else on the first boss?
Eat.
Yeah, eat.
Eat a lot.
Okay.
Eat often.
Yeah, and it would have been a lot easier for you, too, if you could have seen the screen and where the water attack was rather than needing to move based on that. So that is something accessibility-wise that could be tweaked to make it better. So moving into the second room here, the second room is basically you can go one of two ways in the second room. You can either take a left or you can run through straight ahead. And with that, it's just basically DPSing things down with your magic spells, running Protect from Ranged. And when you're doing this, you do need to watch out for these little things called Death Lotus Rogues, because they do have a little spinny ranged attack that if you're not careful, it will kill you. I experienced that one.
The Honto Cell Swords have a spinny melee attack that will kill you quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but I was evoking and aggroing all of those
I did.
onto myself.
And very thankful that you did that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with this. You're basically just running through this, and there are paths that you can take that will not lead you to the boss. Effectively, what you're going to want to do in the second room is head to the very southeast section of it, into this big circular room that is filled with water, and that is your path all the way through. It's filled with water fiends, and you're just going to run past all those until you get to the next force field and DPS down the cloaked zealots that are there as well. And I don't know if there's anything to say on those.
No, not too much. Just that one thing to remember is that in order to clear the door, you only have to clear the minions, mobs, whatever you want to call them, that are in front of the door. That are
standing right in front of
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the ones that get spawned or follow you, you can just ignore. So if you kind of remember which ones were standing there originally, then you could just focus on them if you're trying to get through as quickly as possible. And
there's something that we didn't mention that we should mention at this point, and that's that if you're running through this and you're effectively need to go bank or whatnot, you can go bank and you will go back to your last checkpoint, which are the various chests in this dungeon. There are I think 5 of them, or maybe it was 6 of them, spread out through the entire thing. Yeah. So once you get to those, you're saved and you can go teleport away. And then, in many ways, that makes it not like a very traditional bossing experience, because in a traditional boss, you would need to go back to the beginning and start over. So you have that as an option here as well. And when you go to the various checkpoints, you don't need to kill everything again, providing you've killed everything and taken down their force fields. So that helps too, in terms of banking and whatnot. So that's one mechanic we didn't talk about, but hey, I mean, this is a new experience for everyone, and I think Jagex has probably hit the mark with this, but we'll talk a bit about some questions later on that. So in the third room here, this is where we're dealing with the melee creatures, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Eastern mercenaries
right
and whatnot.
Yeah.
we took a different path when we did it the first time. We went straight through, but when we were doing it in
Justin
the
was
trio,
so upset with me.
Yeah.
Because I did both. Just lured everything.
So you can either, once you enter this main room, you can either hang a left, which is go the western route, or you can just go straight through. In your experience, which was easier, providing you didn't aggro everything?
I think that the hanging a left was probably faster, but there's a lot more of the Death Lotus minions going that way. So if you're uncomfortable dealing with those, then
yeah. Okay. Anything you really want to say about this third room before we get to the second big boss here, or basically just
I would just say that it's just really good to be good at switching between different protection prayers and having devotion ready for when because in that room there's still the Death Lotus things, and so you're praying melee the whole time, then you could get dropped really fast with ranged attacks if you can't quickly switch to pray range, and devotion is really helpful.
And devotion is the threshold ability that makes your protection prayers work for 100% blockage for a short period of time. So
yes, and it extends if you kill something. So it extends the length of how long devotion lasts if you kill something within the 10-second timer.
Okay. So basically, it's from there. It's just I don't want to say that it's a simple fight, but it is simple mechanically because all you're effectively doing is you're just icing these things or maging these things all the way through, taking down the final force field, and then you get down to this circular platform where you're going to go fight the third boss. And I think this third boss was the easiest one because we got this one on our first go in our duo, and we got this one relatively quickly with Justin as well. So.
Wait, isn't this just the second boss?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, second boss. Yeah. Right, second boss. Correct. Yeah. Yes. So,
yeah, I think it's really very easy because its only dangerous mechanic just requires you run away or surge or something.
Right,
so
and to stay out of halberd distance from the guy.
Right. Yeah. So it requires being familiar with moving and doing damage simultaneously. So anyone who's done a boss like Rise of the Six, this will feel like a like old hat to you.
All right. So let's talk a bit about the mechanics in this third boss. He is primarily melee based, so you want to pray melee. Just keep firing the magic at him, and I'll let you take it from there. Masuta the Ascended is this guy's name.
He's basically just like a really overpowered version of the Hanto sellswords. He does the same thing where a bar goes above his head, and he just spins and attacks with halberd style, very, very fast melee hits. They hit 2,000 per tick through prayer. So as you can imagine, you get dropped very fast. Things like Surge or Devotion.
Oh, right. Justin died on this one.
Yeah. He died because he just sat there tanking it because I guess he was used to Devotioning the start and had 0 adrenaline. I kind of made that.
Oh, right. Yeah, there was a bit of a... And then he needed to build his adrenaline up after that, and he got kind of mad at you about that.
Yeah, and then I evoked it off him because I didn't trust him to survive. But yeah, so basically just, use Combust a lot. It's really good to always make sure that one of your teammates has Combust up because that it does double damage since he's moving around so much. And but generally just... have at least one member of your team use vulnerability because that helps pretty tremendously. And yeah, the first phase I think is pretty straightforward. It's just melee hits and don't be in halberd distance.
Yeah.
Run. That's all there is to it, really.
And following that, we need to basically kill these little waterfall things, right?
Right, where we have to pray magic because they do magic damage, and we have to kill them because. It's a time-based thing. He kind of charges himself up something. And if you don't kill all of the water spouts, then you'll have to deal with both the attacks of the boss and the attacks of the water spouts simultaneously. Shane and I, we didn't have to deal with that, but I had to deal with that my very first run through because we didn't quite realize how it worked, and it was a little dangerous.
Yeah. And just for the record, Masuda has... 550k life points, and this being a melee based one, I don't know what the affinity is of these guys. Do we know that yet? How that was working with our magic?
I mean, it appears that accuracy is 100% with tier 90s and no aura. Tier 90s overload and curses seem to get you to 100 accuracy. So I'm not sure. I haven't looked up what their affinity was because it didn't seem to be super important.
Yeah, and killing the little waterfall creatures, that was relatively easy on this regard, and I think at the end of the day made this boss the easiest out of the three mechanic wise. I think even Utanus, just moving around a bit would have got this one if we made it here. So there's that.
And then the final phase he does use ranged instead of melee, and he launches magic bombs, and the bombs can be avoided. If they're not avoided, they hit you for about 8k. Which goes with the theme of this dungeon, which is sort of that attacks that can almost kill you but won't actually kill you is kind of consistent.
Yeah, and it also seems to be a theme that you need to move around quite a bit as well, and I don't know if that's something that they were aiming to do with this.
I mean, I couldn't imagine it any other way because there's if you don't move, especially the final boss, but the first two you require absolutely, it's totally a movement.
Yeah, and
it's very, very similar to the Rise of the Six fight in a lot of ways.
And
it's
for
almost
me,
a copy of that feel.
And for me, that it comes down to a point where if you don't have a good connection, or your computer is having issues, you're not going to have a good time because you are. In addition to waiting on your connection, you are waiting on that 0.6 second RuneScape tick system. So there's that along the way as well. The Thrashing Water creatures are only combat level 50 and have 8,000 life points, so they go down really quick with that. I don't think there was much else to write home about this one. This one was relatively simple.
Yeah,
so,
I think the first run that you and I did, we got it on our first try.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But after that, basically, you just finish the remaining life points on Masuda. He goes down quick. I think it's about 250k, give or take. And with 3 people, that was just ticking down amazingly fast. And then a stairwell opens up, and you can proceed down that stairwell. And then there's a number of pillars that you need to take down, and they're going to attack you with a magic-based attack. So you want to pray magic for that one. I think they each had 10,000 life points with that, so basically just take them down, and this is the final step to go before you actually get to Siryu, which was a little bit surprising to me that Siryu and the second boss are so close together.
Yeah, there was almost no distance between the two, and the pillars are somewhat dangerous, I would say, but as long as you're praying magic, you should be okay. And this is where devotion is, again, super helpful.
Yeah, I think there are about, I want to say, probably 12 or 14 of them in total in the entire room.
Yeah, I think so.
Because 6 on the lower level and 8 up top. So you basically take them down, all of them down, and then you're at another checkpoint right away where you can access this chest, and you can teleport right back here. So basically, let me just sum up how great this is from a benefit standpoint, is that if you're doing this in a group and you and your group need to disappear for a bit, as long as you leave your group intact and you guys don't go off and do something else in the grouping system or start another run here at Aminishi, you can put this away for the night and come back to it the next day and just run right through it. So I think that this is the number one takeaway from this experience for me, is that we now have a prototype in game of how this bossing experience works and a way to resume the various stages along the way. So I'm very happy about that side of it. So
yeah, me too. And it's also nice to have a checkpoint literally at the start of the boss. In case you fail.
And then
in case you fail what Shane started to call phase 1.
Okay, so now, this was actually a hard part of this boss, believe it or not. So you get down to Siryu, and it's this big purple dragon-like creature. And, I have to wonder what they were initially going to do with this, because do you guys recall when they were building the Elite Dungeons here, they said that they initially were going to do this with existing assets in-game, but it became such a hit internally that they ended up making their own models and assets for it. So as we're seeing here, what we got is an amazing looking boss creature. I just want everyone to truly appreciate how this one looks. For those of you guys watching on the video version, you can see that. So that's that. Very, very nice. And I know, David, even you're missing out on this because you're running on low graphics, but having high graphics in this boss experience truly, truly brings it up to the next level. So.
Plus, I've been having particle or texture issues, and so Siri was literally just a square, a purple cube. That's it. I only see a purple cube. I see nothing else.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. So let's begin. Tanis, you have any questions or comments leading up to this?
No. I was spanked well before this guy, so.
All right.
I'll have stuff afterwards. I'll have a summation. I'm just letting you guys kind of lead everyone through the stuff that I couldn't make it through.
All right. So for Siri the Ascended, Phase 1 is getting through the force field, because if you and your teammate don't cross this force field, then what would you say? It felt like 2 seconds, right?
Yeah,
if
between 2 and 3 seconds.
If you guys don't cross that, one of you guys will be locked out, and you'll need to teleport away and, re-ready the group and teleport back and whatnot. So make sure when you guys are going
or
into
use
this,
your max guild portals if your team is all maxed.
Yeah, that's another way. So this guy starts at 7.5 million HP, and it only needs to get down to 7.2, surprisingly. I don't think anyone has an answer to why that's the case. It might be something internally with all the various pillars and whatnot, and this just being what the health bar is representing today, I think. But it says 7.5 million, but you only need to bring it down to 7.2 before the next phase begins. So I'll let you explain the mechanics here of Siryu.
Yeah, so there's a variety of attacks. Everyone that I've talked to and in all the runs that I've done, there doesn't seem to be a specific set order to them, just a kind of general order. But they include the many mechanics where a kind of bomb gets placed on you and you have a few seconds to get it out of a enveloping black circle. Is there a different graphical thing that I wasn't seeing, Shane, or is it just kind of a black circle?
It's a black circle. Yeah, it's a black circle, and then what looks like tendrils come out and hit the
okay. Yeah. Yes, you just the name of the game is Don't Stand in the Lava, basically. There's lots of different arrows of crawling hands. There's a mechanic where there's a yellow arrow in the room. You could either choose to have one player go to the arrow and then you only get one set of hands, which is actually an easier way to do it. Or if you have 3 players and you get one to the arrow and 2 sets of hands. But it doesn't work to have both teammates go to the arrow, because then one of you will get the hands anyways. And there's just like these kind of lines of hands seemingly in random directions. It doesn't seem to like go towards the player or go towards a specific place. It just kind of seems to be totally RNG. Would you say that you feel that way?
They did seem to come from the south side of the platform where Siryu was based from. I didn't see them come horizontally across, really.
Yeah, well, but the arrows of hands definitely. But but when there's that yellow marker,
right? No, that's seemingly random from what I can tell.
Yeah, right. And then there's the huge breath attack, which is a hard-hitting magic hit. So you want to be praying magic this entire fight. So you want to be praying magic while you're down here. And you could actually resonance the huge breath. And it's pretty well televised, and you could get like a 3 or 4K resonance off. But once I actually was off by a tick on my resonance, and I had soul split up instead of magic, and I got 9.3K.
Yep.
I survived somehow.
Yeah, I saw that.
But the max hit is actually quite high.
And then you surged away from it and healed up rather quickly.
Yeah, so if you're not comfortable with tick management, then I'd recommend just sticking to Pray Mage, because it only hits 3K, right around 3,000.
Yeah, 3K give or take. Yeah, 3,500.
Yeah, so which is pretty survivable. The tendrils and the hands are not particular survivable.
Oh no,
the tendrils are 3K per tick. The hands do 4.5 to 5K per tick, which is, even with the best food in the game, is
that's
hard to
what was killing me off.
Yeah, and for those of you not familiar with running and fighting at the same time, remember that doing an ability will drag you back into range of the boss if you go out of range. So
Oh,
when learning this, I would definitely recommend just not even bothering to press an ability if you feel like you're getting more than 8 squares away.
And that's why my revolution was kicking off and bringing me back in then.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so this is one of those instances.
That's interesting because I had auto retaliate off.
Right. But if you do an ability, it drags you back in. So this is where kind of and the other thing is revolution won't automatically as long as you're not clicking on the boss, you're just clicking away. But if you hit an ability or you're not clicking or the timing is weird, then revolution can potentially get you killed. I haven't used revolution in a really long time, so I'm definitely not an expert on how it works. But I would imagine that full manual is a pretty significant advantage at something like this because you don't have to worry about that happening.
Yeah, I would say that knowing what I know now.
Yeah, okay. And again, definitely vulnerability because remember, you're doing 300,000 damage, so one vulnerability is like doing an ability that hits 30k, which is pretty good.
All right, so there's the mechanics, seemingly random in the order they come out. You just got to. The biggest tip I would give for people that I started doing near the end is that if you are at all concerned that you're not going to make it for yourself, don't worry about doing your damage. Let someone else on your team who is more capable and more competent, i.e. David, do that while you run away, heal up, and find a safe space where you can start doing damage from again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you need a safe space, Shane?
I did during this boss fight.
Once you do get it to 7.2, Seiryu will kind of fall.
Yeah, let's talk
flat.
about 7.2 now.
Yeah, so Seiryu falls flat on the ground and is no longer attackable. One thing that is dangerous that I actually died on a kill with Shane because I didn't know about this, but there's currently a bug where you can get the lines of hands coming south at the same tick as Seiryu falls down. So if you position yourself in the correct spot to jump up to the platform, you could die to the hands spawning right underneath you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So definitely stay a few squares away just in case that happens. And then you won't, die to it. And then you jump onto this platform. And the camera angle moves a lot. So you have to kind of quickly react. And there's these 3 black pillars that have different sets of HP, trio, duo, solo. You have a limited amount of time where your team has to successfully kill a minimum of 1 pillar. When I was dealing with Shane, I found it perfectly easy to kill 1.5 pillars by myself in the allotted time. So I don't think DPS is an issue, although I also, am using Fortic auto attacking and, I have a fair amount of experience. So I'm not sure if that would be the case for everyone, but it seemed very easy to do enough damage to me. And then since you were since you were the tag role, I'll let you explain that because you ended up getting really good at it.
So basically you'll get these things called shadow enigmas appearing down below, and they effectively look like those green blobs that are in the Lumbridge swamp. And what you need to do with these is you need to kill or just even aggro them as they come down. They come down the middle because if they make their way to Seiryu, they will heal the pillars, I think, right? Or is
they heal it. They heal it a ton. You get this message that says Uber heal is what it's called. And if you get too many of them, it just causes you to fail. Basically.
Yeah. So basically, if you guys can, you get someone in your group to jump down and tag all these and keep them aggroed and kill them along the way. They're low HP. They don't attack you. And this is another thing that makes Ice Magic good because you can get them all in a group and you can stop them from moving. And basically, you can keep them at the halfway point if you're on it early enough, and then you'll take them down and then finish killing them after you kill your pillar, and we run out of time up there, and then it repeats itself. The entire boss repeats itself again.
Right, and something important to note is during the pillars phase, the player down who goes back down and the player on the platform, neither of you take any damage. So you can just soul split or whatever. There's no damage at all.
Yeah, that's a good time to heal up with soul split or whatnot and not use any food. And And, you know, I'm going to say that food management is really important for this if you're not able to keep avoiding those big black blobs that appear on the bottom of the floor when you're actually fighting Siryu. Because that 300k life points, you need to be alive for that 300k life points. And if you're not, then that's what's going to be the undoing of you in this boss fight. So it's pretty much the same for the second part of this here. And you said you got 1.5 pillars in that run that we did, basically when we were doing it, right?
Yeah, and I think that in Trio, you can use Dominion mines, and each of them do 10k damage. You could use 2 per pillar per person. So in a trio, that's 60k damage per pillar, which is huge.
Right. And if Justin was there with us, I think that was going to be the plan. And I think you guys said you were going to get it in one go. So
it's difficult to get in one cycle. I think that it definitely requires. So I've gotten it in one cycle twice, and all 3 of us were using Dominion mines. All 3 of us were 4-tick auto attacking, and all of us had Titans with summoning potions. But I think that it's very easy to consistently get it in 2 cycles once you've got the mechanics down in a trio team. And I don't think that you need that level of try-hard DPSing.
And we were even going to do that with ours. I think 2 cycles was going to be ours because we made it all the way down to 7,227,000 life points before I ran out of food and then died because I clicked on the boss and I went backwards. So, and that was the end of that fight. So, you know, we were this was a solo run between us. We were down to 27k left. So, it wasn't that bad. Now, after you do this, seeing as I didn't actually officially get the kill here, what happens after you kill him?
You just kind of go collect loot from your chest. I've gotten 3 ancient scales so far, which is the ingredient for tier 92 helmet and legs for the upgrade for Tectonic. Is it Tectonic and Serenic?
Just Serenic at this point. The next one is going to be Tectonic.
Okay, so just Serenic helm and or Serenic mask, I think it is, and Serenic chaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's loot wise. I feel like even if you're getting consistent, say 15-minute runs, which I think is pretty accessible. I think that with a lot of experience and a lot of DPS with Maniacal, you could probably get 10 to 11-minute runs from start to finish.
Yeah.
But I think 15 is probably the target that most people will end up being once they are super familiar with every mechanic. No one's dying anymore.
And you know, I don't know what Jagex did or what they said, but apparently the trio they brought in to playtest this got it done in 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that maybe that's where it's going to end up being, but I think that is going to require quite a lot of effort to do. Certainly Steel Titans and Maniacal and maybe 1 Ranger on Chins, something like that. But yeah, I could see that happening. A lot of people are also bringing melee switches just for Siryu, because the first part of it, you can kind of MD him the whole time and just use Berserk. But I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. I think that probably 12 to 15-minute kills or runs is sufficient. And a good goal to aim for.
Now,
and, loot wise, it was it's not super great.
For I don't 2 runs I did, I'm up to 1.1 mil. So,
it doesn't seem like there's a huge difference when you kill Siryu. I mean, you can get the scales, like the boot attachments for the tier 90 boots that drop from Rune Dragons. So those are the best drops in terms of money value, which really isn't a lot. I mean, it's definitely not, I don't think, ever going to be as much of a moneymaker as, say, Vindicta or Hellware or something like that.
Yeah, and, you know, we will definitely look into this part about, you know, doing maybe only a couple of the rooms before that to, you know, get the tokens and, you know, maximize the GP. At least that's what I saw. I don't know if you heard similar about that.
I didn't know anyone who was doing that. I just knew
Okay.
people who were doing that to farm tokens, and they weren't really keeping track of GP. But GP per hour always comes down to perspective, like because for some people anything less than 30 mil an hour is bad GP per hour, and that's not a reasonable standard to hold content to. So I don't know. It's hard to say because a lot of the people that I typically PVM with are usually at Telos or AOD all day long, and that's so much more GP per hour that everything else seems pretty insignificant. It's maybe not a fair comparison.
Just working the Google here, apparently 300k Dungeoneering tokens per hour in story mode is possible for, if you're fully maxed out. You can easily hit 225 to 250k tokens per hour otherwise with this.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Those are also the rates that I heard.
Now,
that seems phenomenal.
Yeah, how does that compare to Daemonheim? That's what I got.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in the same ballpark.
Okay.
I don't think, because I think that, well, I guess you could probably if you're rushing C5 larges on a really good team, isn't that like 500k XP per hour? Something like that.
Yeah, but that would only be
one. Is it one token per XP, or is it one token per 10 XP?
Per 10, so that'd only be 50k tokens for that run.
Yeah, so I think because I'm pretty sure on double XP weekend, Dungeoneering is 1 mil an hour if you're rushing C5 largest. So I think that's the max at Daemonheim is probably something like 50k tokens an hour. So I mean, even if you had an amazing team and you hit 75k tokens an hour, it's not even close, because I think that pretty casually doing this is at least 200k an hour.
Yeah, so I mean that might be one way of doing it.
I don't understand that though. Like how are you getting those numbers when you only get 5k per
I don't know.
boss?
I guess just running through rinse and repeat really quickly.
Yeah, you just do the room over and over and over again. It only takes I think it takes probably 2 minutes or something to
that
do
would sound about right.
Right, but you only get them for the bosses, right? So
no, it's for the room.
Yeah, you get it for the room. Yeah. See, or don't you get 5k tokens just for getting through the first room? Okay, yeah. So that probably takes. Would you say 45 seconds, or
the
even
first
less
room
than
was
that?
quick.
Maybe 30 seconds.
I can actually go look here. We do have that on our video footage from when we did that. Let me just have a quick look here.
So when you're saying rooms, does that include the boss?
No, does not include the boss. Yeah.
So it's just the room. You actually get tokens
5K.
for killing the mobs.
Yes. Yeah, you just kill the mobs guarding the door, go through the door, and then you get 5k tokens.
I did not know that. Okay, that changes things quite a bit.
From what people said, people think that they're going to nerf it because of how it feels like this.
Of course they will. Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of ridiculous. Because how long did it take us, Shane, to get through just the first room?
40 seconds. 40 seconds to kill everything. Yeah. To open that door.
So it's 5k tokens.
Well, and close to a minute to open the second door, but basically that. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you did, what's that? 60 times 5,000. Yeah, that's 300,000. Like so if the three of us did that, for example, we could get 300,000 tokens an hour.
Well, that would be wonderful. All I need is 300,000 tokens, and I can be done and never have to deal with any of this crap again.
I think then we ought to get together this weekend and do that. Then,
that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think on Monday that might be changed. I would be surprised if it isn't, because it's just like it's 1.5 chaotic weapons per hour. It's like, come on.
But what does that matter? You know what I mean? Like, Daemonheim is such a secluded
QA.
Even if it does, what's it matter? That doesn't affect the market at all. Like, what do you get from Daemonheim that's tradable? Nothing.
I mean, theoretically, it means that tier 80 weapons crash, right? Because if tier 80 weapons suddenly become super, super easy to get, I'm just. But
a chaotic is never going to be as good as a God Wars 2 weapon, right? I mean, they're not the same thing.
But God Wars,
So-
yeah, I guess so. But I mean, people still use tier 80 weapons, right? Or do they? Has everyone switched to tier 85 or tier 90?
I use
I don't
use
know.
ports tier 80 or tier 85.
Yeah. That's
I don't know
85.
anybody that uses straight up chaotic weapons. I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
unless you're an Iron Man or really even more poor than I am, and I'm pretty damn poor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just such a variety in tier 80 now. I mean, you've got the stuff from the Lava Strike. You've got all kinds of stuff. God Wars 2. You've got, I mean, I don't know. Tier 80 just seems meaningless to me.
Oh, apparently it's the mini bosses that are killed.
Oh, you killed
That's
the
what I
mini
thought. But what we did was not, was that the mini
That was
boss?
not the mini bosses. That was the full boss that we did at the end there. There were a couple of other little mini bosses that were iconed on the map that we saw.
Right, and they're just
We didn't do anything with
they're
those.
really easy
Yeah,
to kill. They just
yeah.
kind of like have
I
decent amount of
I even finished one of those in story mode.
yeah.
So, okay, so that's one of the rewards from this. I mean, I don't know what to say about this at this point, because
I think it's really fun, but
oh yeah,
not everyone
definitely,
would agree with
definitely.
That, obviously,
We'll get to that in
I think
our summary. I want to
reward.
talk about the rewards first, but I was speaking more in terms of the rewards, and that if we're gonna look at the rewards in that way, does that need to be patched
in terms of the token.
in terms
game,
of the token game?
I think it's. I mean, my initial inclination was to say it's excessive. I mean, tokens can be translated directly into XP, so I don't know what XP is like in story mode, but maybe
It's
I
not
can't-
great.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the combo of 300k tokens plus XP would not exceed Demonheim. then.
Yeah, I'm actually heading into the reward shop right now just to get an actual number on these at Demonheim, because I wanted to say that, we talked about the new invention blueprint and whatnot, how that was going to be something that people might be interested in looking for in this, but you don't actually need to kill the full you don't need to kill the boss in order to gain access to these new invention blueprints. That is now a part of the Dungeoneering reward shop that anyone who has that can access. So that's something right there as well with this that really wasn't talked about that much.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like if you go to, let's see, what's his name here? Just 1 second. Reward shop, and his name is the Elite Dungeon Reward Shop, and you talk to Brill Thoxdottir. What an interesting name.
Huh?
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
Brill Thoxdottir.
Oh.
For 200k Dungeoneering tokens, you unlock the Magic Notepaper blueprint for untradeable Magic Notepaper. 600k Dungeoneering tokens permanently boost your ability to open doors in Daemonheim by +4 levels. And then there's scrolls for the scrimshaw of superior scrimshaws of aggression, sacrifice, and corruption, each worth 250k. Then, in addition to this, you can purchase Garajo cards, either in team or solo variant, for 15k or 5k tokens, respectively, and then Dragon Trinkets, either the standard ones or the metallic ones, for 25k Dungeoneering tokens there. So, there we have it.
Yeah, Tannis has swayed me. My thought on this is kind of like, who cares? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Demonheim has been out for so long. Dungeon
2010.
For so long. The rewards have been close to the same. Like there's a thing added here and there. But yeah, I kind of think it's just been. I guess it makes the comp rec a little bit easier, but that's one of the easiest comp recs anyways. So I don't really think that's too important.
And the Dungeoneering shop sells the XP at a 1-to-1 ratio.
Right. But I think that, from what you were saying, 500k an hour or whatever you get from doing C5 or C6 larges.
That's better
with 5
XP,
people
but this is better token.
Right. Okay.
Better
Yeah.
tokens.
Fair enough.
So, In that
You gotta
regards, with the C6 larges being worth that much, I think that we are going to see a nerf to this because they do want to keep the rewards probably, keep Dungeoneering tokens a special thing and not have them be overflown. So
yeah, I mean, I would definitely predict a nerf, but I don't. I'm more on Tannis' side that it's kind of not super important. I guess it'll make the advanced gold accumulator easy to get. I guess I should do this.
There's that too.
Well,
There's that too.
Because I kind of want
That's the only thing that I need, and I absolutely hate that they put it there, because for me it's a must-have. Like, you know how much money I leave on the ground because I don't know it's on the ground. Like,
yeah.
it's just it's terrible that it's there in the first place. But don't you have to give people a reason to do this? Because I mean, and we can go in. I'll go into this more once we get to the summary. But we've talked about the GP. You've talked about the experience. There's not a lot of draw to bring people down here. I didn't even find it particularly fun. So you gotta give people some reason to want to go there. And just like in your case, David, I feel like someone that has your abilities, they're not going to be like turned on by this. Like, yeah, you can do it and take us through it and show us, but you're going right back to Telos. This is nothing for you. It's not challenging enough, and it's not good enough. So what's to keep someone like you down there doing it? And guess what? You need to be kind of like you to even get through the damn thing. So I don't know. I really haven't been that impressed so far.
Yeah,
I think the two main draws are people who need their IFB to get, they need their pet. They'll do it till they get their pet. And then the second thing is I do think that for the group of people who are interested in getting into high-level group bossing but don't feel comfortable enough yet to just go fight Virago or don't have enough people to fight, say, AOD, this is, I mean, in terms of introducing you to dealing with mechanics and also dealing with DPS simultaneously, this is like an amazing intro to high-level fighting.
Right, and that's what I was saying as well. I might actually be interested in that regard now, so we'll just have to wait and see on that. And for anyone wondering, there's actually a second reward trader on the island of Aminishi that sells various cosmetics for Dungeoneering tokens as well. 20, 40, 60K worth on some of these. So maybe that is the intent, to have that kind of reward coming in. Because to get one of these full outfits here, 40K for the headdress, 60K for the jacket, 60K for the trousers, 20K for the hand wraps and boots there, you're easily, with that, looking at 200K Dungeoneering tokens for a cosmetic outfit.
Yeah.
So there's also cosmetics here. I don't know, or consumables. I don't know if you guys noticed this. There's something they're calling the Death Lotus Extract, which upgrades your Death Lotus darts to tier 88 that you can purchase as well. It's going to be something you use for 5K Dungeoneering tokens. Aminishi teleport tablets. Uncharted island maps for 15K tokens. I don't know why we need that. We get enough of those.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Is there Dungeoneering lore on? I don't remember when I did the comp rec there being Dungeoneering on Aminishi.
No. No.
Well, but I mean, I guess like they're adding the lore in because there's now an elite dungeon or whatever. It's hard for me to, even though you get Dungeoneering XP, it's hard for me to connect it with Dungeoneering at all. Like, it just seems like a raid. But...
Yeah, and that's
because Dungeoneering doesn't connect to anything at all.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
the final one is a Temple of Aminishi Lucky Charm, which gives you a chance to receive rare items, higher chance when killing enemies inside the temple, and it's consumed whenever you receive a rare item, and that's for 10K tokens.
Interesting.
So there are those as well. So I guess the $1 million question is there going to be a nerf this coming Monday or the following? Because I don't know if they'd get something through that quick on that. So anyways, let's sum this up then. Mechanic-wise and whatnot, combat, as far as combat goes, David, I think we addressed this, that it is relatively flat compared to everything else in game. It's effectively
I will
just
say
DPS
that. So
and move
I was
around.
at work when the stuff came out, and so I logged in about 5 hours later. And one of my friends who I PVM a lot with, we've done things like 4-man hard mode, Virago, and we all have very high Taliesin range, etc. So people who just do PVM all day, someone PM'd me and just says, "Hey, want to go get your comp back? I've noticed you haven't logged in." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Is it hard?" And he said, "If you bring a yak, I'm going to kick you from the group." I was like, "Okay, fair enough." And then we just went and we got I had my comp within about 25 minutes of logging in. And I didn't know any of the mechanics. I just like kind of fought my way through it. But that's also, with 3 people who
know what was happening,
like
and
hard mode Rago all day
right.
long.
So your
both
mileage will vary in that regard, and that brings me to the next point. Story mode for people who don't do bossing in PVM, and even people who do things like God Wars, Hellware, Vindicta, and whatnot, have told me that if they bring people who aren't as versed on the mechanics, they will have a hard time with this. So, is this too hard for what it offers?
My opinion, yeah, totally. And I've been struggling this week trying to not come down real hard on this because I hate to be like that, but on day of release I could walk into God Wars Dungeon 2 and I could solo every one of those bosses myself, except for Siliske. That was an accessibility thing though, with the little guy that would come out anyway. I literally walked into a room down here and died to what was labeled as trash mobs. No. In my opinion, it's way too hard for the average player. But that brings us to who is this for? And that's where I think they've dropped the ball so terribly bad, because who is this for? It's not for David.
Or his friends.
It's
not for the lore people, because even on story mode, it's hard.
Yep. So who does it end up being for? See, I was going into this, and maybe it's an expectations game, which I'm really kind of upset with myself about, because I know better, right? I mean, I've been on the show for a while. I've been writing for a long time. I know how to manage expectations with this, but I did expect like a high-level Slayer mob type of trash mobs, right? That's kind of what I expected. I expected a mini-boss to be something along the lines of like a Ripper Demon, or maybe a little bit stronger, maybe a little more HP, but that's kind of what I was looking at. And then the bosses, I was looking at probably like a God Wars 2 boss, but with a little more HP. At least I thought that's the way they were describing it, and that is not what we have here. Not at all.
Yeah. And, actually, just speaking of those, one of those bosses that you probably died to was Oyu the Quietest. And, David, you remember Justin was asking, why is your name Oyu the Quietest?
Yeah, he thought I changed my name or something. And I'm like, dude, that's it, 40 characters long, first of all. And second, no.
So... And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys aren't coming back here unless you're selling a kill, helping someone get a pet.
Yeah, we are selling a lot though, because we have some buyers buying 100 KC, so that's pretty profitable.
Okay,
but, and we've sold a lot of kills. So my friends and I are in a leech selling service. Different people feel differently about whether that should be a thing or whether Jagex should crack down on it. But as it exists now, it's perfectly legal, perfectly accepted, and very common. So we started selling, trio mode where the 2 of us would fight and the third person would just, walk along.
Stand outside the force field?
Yeah, they would stand outside the force field and not do anything. And yeah, we were selling within a couple hours of the fight's release. So that's when on the Discord, I kind of said my experience was a little different, because I was actually selling kills duo plus leech within an hour or two of starting the fight.
All right.
But
so that's what it's basically for at this point. It's a bit of a lore experience and get a pet along the way if you're after that. So,
yeah, I do feel like I don't know how large the group of people is, but I really do think that there's a group of people who are in the in-between range of God Wars Dungeon 2 and maybe something like Telos. Like maybe they're around a Raxor level of comfortability, but don't feel like they could do high-level groups content. I said this 10 minutes ago, but you know, I don't know, Shane, like how many people do, because if that's the target audience of sort of introduction to high-level group fighting, and high-level group bossing is very different than high-level solo bossing. Like there are a lot of people who are phenomenal in Araxor can't do Virago because it requires a sort of level of coordination and willingness to encourage each other, but also be willing to call people, you know, because at a certain point you have to call people out if they're making the same
definitely
thing over and over again. And it's like navigating the line between being mean and being fair. I don't know what a better word for it is. And I think that this is a place where that group of people can really, you know, you can make friends, you can learn together. And I've kind of been noticing this a little bit, although I honestly don't know how big the community is, because it seems like either you're doing Telos and AOD and Virago or you're skilling. You know, it doesn't seem like that group of people in the middle is that large. And I think that this seems to be an effort to get at that.
Yeah. And you know, I told you that this did interest me, and it, you know, perhaps will convince me to go back and kill the Queen Black Dragon a few more times and take another few swings at Araxor with this, because when Araxor came out, I think I did get a kill on that. And then I never went back. So, I mean, it's just never been something that I've been interested in, but this, you know, the idea behind this was interesting. I was chatting with Sirion this week because he wrote the Informer article on this update, and he raises a very good point. So we talked about why you're not going to be doing this, David, on your own. You're going to be doing it for the other people.
Telos is 55 mil an hour. I can't, you know, I can't spend that much
exactly.
time here. You know, sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
And he said, why would anyone choose this over a traditional dungeon? They're not, if they want the XP. Yeah. If they want the tokens, they might be doing this, but remains to be seen if that'll be patched. Raids, Beastmaster, Durzag, and Yakamaru. I mean, I assume there's a reason you guys don't do those.
I mean, we do. I usually
they're time gated
every 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I do one kill every 2 days. I've got like something like 450 Yaka and around 500 BM kills because I go once every 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms to go out.
What's this actually?
Yakamaru is way harder than anything in this dungeon.
Okay.
By the way, like there's a big difference. Beastmaster is probably less difficult than Siryu, or right around that, but the difference between Beastmaster and Yakamaru is also pretty massive. So,
yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd call this an interesting boss fight because you're just running around evading things.
And but see, that brings me to the point of, Shane, this ends up being a PVM update masquerading as a skilling diversity update, which it is not in any way. I thought this was going to help us give additional ways to train dungeoneering. And no, there's absolutely no reason you would train dungeoneering doing this. I thought this would alleviate some of the headaches of what is so bad about dungeoneering. I don't want to have to get 5 people. Right. That's why I hate dungeoneering.
And, you know, this is like a medium-ish way of doing dungeoneering, though I don't remember them saying that this would be competitive with C6 larges at all.
No, it wasn't supposed to be competitive. I expected it to be slower, honestly, but I expected it to be doable and an alternative.
So doable for someone who just wants to run through it, kind of. All right.
Yeah, like if you were willing to put in the time and just grind it out, that you could do that. But no, this is an elite PVM update.
Is it actually interesting?
No, it wasn't. I don't think so. I mean, the best part of my night was David doesn't yell at people like every other person I've met. So that was great. Otherwise, I just didn't. I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed.
Yeah, that's fair. I obviously will always have kind of some bias towards group.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good you
because
recognize that.
Group PVM is what I do. Like I do Telos because of how absurdly good the money is. But if it wasn't that good, I would just be doing probably Virago or AOD all day. Because I like group bossing. I like bossing with friends. I like getting on Discord or TeamSpeak and talking about stuff and having fun. That's what I like doing in this game. So I enjoyed the release because I got to go on with friends and talk about mechanics and strategies and stuff like that. I will say I enjoyed Solak, several orders of magnitude more, and I did not get a successful Solak kill till the 20-hour mark. I got a kill here within about 20 minutes of logging it. So the difference in terms of difficulty, at least for me, was pretty huge, at least in terms of the complexity of learning the mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I it's hard to just...
It's hard to put something on it, right?
Yeah, and why does every new thing have to have 20 new mechanics on a game built on a broken ass system to begin with that tick rate? Like, it's... I mean, I know, okay, so Tank and Spank, it's boring, it's not interesting, but, I mean, for people that aren't doing that kind of stuff, it's still okay. I mean... God Wars 2, like, really, I thought was like a good mix of, okay, you got to get out of the way of this and you got to do that, but you can also just stand there and fight. And this is just run like hell and hope you got someone that can hit it while you're there. And it's, I don't know, it's just disappointing.
For me, it's going to come down to I think what they do with if the token thing in story mode is working as intended, then that's fine. That might be a reason to do this on its own. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I think it's going to be in the realm of other PVM things that you only do once or twice. Because I can tell you that I can't solo this on my own, so I won't be back unless it's with a group.
Yep.
And for people like you, David, it's not worth the time to do that. So,
yeah, definitely not. I don't know. I have pretty mixed feelings.
Yeah.
It.
Like I think
I guess I see so much potential,
right,
that I don't want to just pan it. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Because take the reset mechanic of the chest and being able to jump to your various checkpoints.
Yeah.
Take the idea of the boss fight that's in 3 different stages, and you get to the end and maybe get something along the way. That's fun.
Yeah.
And, the idea of having lore in the dungeon as well, that's another good thing. You put it on lore story mode, you just pick up all the pages and away you go. So, it's not bad, but it's just going to be one of those pieces of content that people aren't going to come back to time after time, I think. So.
No, it's just... Right. I think it's just too damn hard. It's just too hard. But I think the reason I'm so disappointed is because I was looking so forward to this one. I really thought it was going to work out different. But it does have potential. Like, it does have some really great things with the chest and, like you said, it's just that...
It's just tuned a little too high.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think they nailed the format, though.
Yeah, the format is excellent. The idea behind it with lore, tokens, and whatnot, that is excellent. It's just tuned a little too high. So, anything else on that before we move on to the patch notes?
No.
I think I've said everything.
Okay. Well, then, we're going to jump right on into the patch notes this week, and there really weren't too many of those either. It was a pretty barren week when it comes to patch note-wise. So I'll just start us off here. An issue has been fixed that stopped you from keepsaking use Superior Statius's Warhammer. I don't know who would keepsake that, but that's a thing. Block the ability to cast Alchemy and Disassemble on the free weapons given to you during the Heart of Stone quest. Reduce the cost of XP scrimshaws from 10 Ancient Bones to 4, and reduce the cost of gathering scrimshaws from 10 to 2. And, we were chatting about this week
huge.
When this came out. And, the amount of bones you're getting remains the same. So in theory, the proportion of scrimshaws coming into the game will go up, but people will continue to use those scrimshaws because they're available for more. So I don't think this is going to do too much to the price of the scrimshaws if you choose to sell them. I think I could be wrong on that, but that's my hunch going forward with this. And I think the main reason they're doing this is to encourage more people to make their own rather than just purchase them from the exchange.
Yeah, that's an awesome change. I can never keep enough bones for the scrimshaws that I do use, so that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I think that'll be the case with that. So we'll just have to watch the market, but I think overall that's a good change. Added the superior scrimshaws of sacrifice, aggression, and corruption to the support scrimshaw crafter. Those are the ones you unlock from the Dungeoneering Rewards Trader now this week. They did update the Tier 90 Serenic armor with this update, just a visual update, so you'll see that.
I'm happy with that because I'm sure you notice I use Ice Dyed Serenic as my cosmetic override, and I'm really happy with how it looks. I like it.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
I did when I Ice Dyed it.
And the Max Guild portal can now be tuned to travel to the Elite Dungeons.
Yes, it can.
Maybe one day, right, Tanis?
That's right. It was funny. Shane tells me, hey, the entrance is on Aminishi or whatever it was. And then I log in. I'm getting ready to go there. And I'm on Discord. One of my buddies like, just go your Max portal, dude. I was like, oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, Max portal's pretty good. I can't remember, Tanis. Are you working towards comp?
Yeah, I was.
Comp's cool.
We're in a holding pattern, but I was, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, so that's it for the patch notes this week. Something came out that was a bit of a surprise earlier with this. Live Events Dev Blog #1. So this is a post from the Live Events team, and this is an update because they talked about Treasure Hunter 2 and that they were working on in 2017. But after a great deal of work on the project, it became apparent that what they were working on to provide wasn't what the community had wanted from it. And after much toing and froing, we decided that it would be best to take a different route entirely. As such, Treasure Hunter 2 is no longer in active development. So basically what they are doing is HOL improvements. I'm not sure what HOL stands for with this. Unknown. But basically with this, they've been offering people the chance to earn oddments instead of cashing out prizes. And as we saw in June, the oddment store is back. And what they're looking at doing is bringing in this as a permanent feature, the ability of getting oddments from the treasure hunter. And the reason behind this is because they want to make certain items to be directly purchasable and provide a way to re-roll unwanted prizes or boost charges in promotions such as the Gemerator that they're already looking to add. So that's one thing they're doing with this. They're also going to be doing a prize refresh where the base reward selection of Treasure Hunter is going to be updated because they say it's become stale over time. Undesirable prizes and old filler items that don't feel rewarding or interesting to earn today. And they're looking to reward the base Treasure Hunter items and give them a complete overhaul, rebalancing the earnable rewards to things that are much more interesting and desirable. People will have their tinfoil hats on for that one. And starting in July, there's going to be a new key package, which is a daily key booster that you can purchase that'll allow you to increase the number of daily keys that you get. And for this, you will double your keys. So Premier Club members will jump from 3 to 6, members from 2 to 4, and free players from 1 to 2. You'll be able to purchase this with bonds if you so choose to. And then they say there's going to be a greater focus on cosmetics and engagements with this, with the Treasure Hunter. And what they effectively want to do is they say they've been experimenting with cosmetic-only promotions and testing the limits of their limited time in-game events. And they want to take this further. So they say it's inspired by other games, and starting next week they're going to be implementing something called the Rune Pass, which is a pilot event in which you'll be able to earn items through playing the game. With 2 prize tracks, you can either play along the free path or pay a small price to access the golden track, which provides you with a larger number of prizes and more cosmetics. Rune Pass will have a number of challenges and tasks in order to progress through its levels, and it'll award you with progress along the way for simply earning XP in any part of the game. So, that's that. You know, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to say there are going to be people out there who are going to think that there's going to be people who are going to say Rune Pass is going to be another way to introduce pay to win in the game. I don't know if they're going to do that, though they did say they want to focus on cosmetics here, right?
Well, we've heard that before, but yes.
I think it's always nice for it to be cosmetic focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cosmetics are fine. Look at Fortnite.
Yeah.
That's all of their money is coming from cosmetics,
Yeah,
and they're racking it in.
Yeah. It'll be available next week, and you'll have your progress through July 15th. The 2-week event will be a trial in which they'll be collecting feedback and monitoring how people play it to determine whether or not they pursue it as a larger project. And with this, they also want to improve the life cycle for all these items, because they say there's a vast backlog of treasure hunter items and former Squeal of Fortune items which players can no longer get, and many that have otherwise been lost to time, outfits that were unfinished, cosmetics unobtained, and they want to provide a way to allow players to get these older items. So I think this is perhaps going to be the most interesting part of this here.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you were to split this apart, they could definitely do this, and I think people would be happy. The way Rune Pass looks, we'll just have to wait and see on that, if what it brings in. So, and they say that also this blog post is part of a larger effort to talk about the plans more, and in addition, you know, run live events, forum Q&As. So, and you know, when it comes to Treasure Hunter, I think this is a good thing to be talking about this way. So. Alrighty. Well, I'll just remind everyone then that if you want to check out what we're up to early in the week, you can follow the Weekly Bite on YouTube at youtube.com/RSBANDB, where on the day the update comes out, we post a brief rundown of the update, what it's about, how to get into it, and you know what you can learn from it, as well as the pertinent patch notes for the week. So all of that and more can be found at youtube.com/RSBANDB. And now, what I think I want to do is I want to just remind everyone about our Patreon account at patreon.com/RSBNB, and in particular talk about our great supporters that we have this week on the podcast. And the four of you guys currently supporting this are Adam T., Rory W., Cody T., and Nora. So thank you, all of you guys, for your great support over the month of June here. It's been really amazing to see all of these things come in, and I can now say to everyone out there that we have unlocked the $30 tier, which will enable us to do video shows of RSBNB Update starting in July. So you guys can look forward to that. And if you're wanting to subscribe and help us along the way to pay for the server costs of RSBNB, you can find more information about that at patreon.com/RSBNB. But effectively what happens with this is there's 3 tiers of support: $1, $3, and $5. For $1, you get a thank you and you help us pay those costs. Your name gets thrown into the show notes here, and you get a permanent mention in the credits of the show, per se. For $3 a month, you gain access to our early show notes, and you get your name read out on the week that you subscribe. And for $5 a month, you get your name read out each and every week on the show, and you gain access to the clips that we use for the RSBNB Update clip show at the end of the year. Well, you don't get access to them at the end of the year. You get access to them the week the show comes out. So that's the benefit in that. Sorry if that was slightly confusing there. But once again, all of that and more at patreon.com/RSBNB. And thank you to our great supporters: Adam T., Rory W., Cody T., and Nora. So, all right. We ready to move on to our question of the week, the discussion question?
Yeah, let's hear that.
All right, so this is from Tycho. Dear RSBNB, today I won't bore you with my questions. All right, let's see about that, Tycho. Let's go behind the scenes instead and listen to Shane's wonderful voice as he tells us 2 things that are very common in life. First, He will tell us what he does to get this show out, from Monday's update throughout the week until the podcast is released. I believe there are many steps to it, something we don't hear much about. And as for the cream on top, I hope he will make a summary of the must-have podcaster needs before they get started on their own show. Don't worry, Shane, I'm not planning to start my own podcast based on information from a very popular source that's featured in the front page of RuneScape. Let's hopefully meet at RuneFest and do something crazy. That's from Tycho. Well, this could very well be a topic in itself here, because
for another day.
It could very well could be, because I could talk about any aspect of the production chain of this for 20 minutes plus here. No, Magic King, I see that Thursday I have to send the show notes out. That is not the case. The show notes are ready by Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest in spreadsheet format. They're just not in document format until a few hours before record the show. Everything is planned well throughout the week. So starting with Monday, the first step is effectively to take our headlining update of the week, and this week the Temple of Aminishi, and the patch notes of the week. Those get put into a spreadsheet and distilled down a bit for the weekly bite, and then those weekly bite news notes effectively form what we're going to kind of talk about on the actual podcast here on later in the week, either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on it. So there's that. And then, of course, throughout the week, we also pay attention to various things like tech news as well. And mainly Sirion and myself will be looking out for tech news. And if something is good, we'll put it in that producer's spreadsheet as well. And on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending how the week is going, that's when the early Patreon show notes go out. And we send access out to those. And then when it comes time to recording, the day of recording, the notes get collated into a Google Doc format, which those of you guys watching on the video show can see right here. And then after that, we basically sit down and record the show. And in effect, we have what I think has been distilled down to a pre-flight checklist, Hannes, right?
Yep.
In terms of, going through the way we're going to attack the update, what we're going to talk about in questions, tech news, and whatnot. Then we split the achievements up so we know who is starting with what, and we're not talking over each other there. Then we
also throw in a little bit of Canadian American politics just for fun.
Yeah, in the pre-show or post-show, depending.
Yeah.
Those are fun. We haven't killed each other yet.
Right.
And, we record the show, then that's... You see how long it's taken me to talk about that. And then after that, it's a matter of editing the audio. And I could talk forever about editing the audio and the way it goes into the computer. But effectively what happens is we have a number of audio files that are uncompressed wave audio files, so uncompressed audio. And then those are edited down to create an MP3 mix down, adding some various effects along the way. Nothing too drastic. And then we add the theme music, the teaser, and the show title, closeout music, export that as an MP3. Gets uploaded with the show notes, with the posting at update.rsbandb.com, and that's the MP3 version. And then later that day, the video version goes out, which, if there's no edit points, is just basically overlay the video recording from the show with the audio. And because the audio has already been edited, so just sync those up, edit it out, and up it goes to YouTube. And that's a very Cole's Notes version of the way it works, because each of the things we talked about here on this bullet point could be talked about for much longer. So there we go. Hopefully that's enough. I would very much love to do a supplemental on this at some point, not a Patreon special, I don't think. I think everyone kind of deserves to know how this works, because, that you hear podcasts, but sometimes they put a little bit too much in the audio editing, right? So I'd like to talk about that at some point in the future, the workflow for this and the hardware and how it all works and what role the Mac has and why it has to be a Mac and whatnot. So I'm content to leave that there, though, because we are on a time scale for this one for David. So thank you, Tycho, for that question. And I assume neither of you guys have anything else you want to add into that, because this is largely from my end of the show.
Yeah, you covered it quite well. I'll also throw some stuff in the producer's sheet if I come across an interesting gaming story. Like that.
And I think at this point we have 15 or 16 people who have access to that. So it's not just me or Tanis. It's a whole bunch of us at this point. So, okay, you guys ready for tech news?
I am really ready for tech news.
Okay. So, Microsoft has announced that the Xbox One is going to be getting keyboard and mouse support that could potentially be rolling out as soon as this fall. And this is so much so that Microsoft is working with Razer to develop a specific keyboard and mouse that will be fully compatible with the Xbox One. And what Microsoft aims to do with this is they aim to open up the Xbox gaming APIs and the Xbox gaming platform to allow for game developers to support a keyboard and mouse if they so want to, though they will need to support the gamepad without any questions asked. So, I think what Microsoft is doing here is they're effectively attacking the gaming PC. And this means that there might not have such of a high focus on gaming for Windows as they did in the past. That's my guess from this.
They're definitely going to give the console, or at least the Xbox people, a fighting chance when it comes to being competitive now, right? So
yeah, because playing a first-person shooter with a mouse and keyboard is so much different than a controller.
Yeah, it's not fair.
It's night and day
really.
Difference. Night and day.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think they'll never be able to PC players are PC players. I don't think it's ever, there's so much more than just the mouse and keyboard for that. You know what I mean? It's just a better way of playing games. I don't know.
This the report here suggests that any Windows capable non-Bluetooth mouse and keyboard will work, and the Xbox One titles need to opt in for that. So it's not going to be every game going back to Call of Duty 4 that you're going to be able to do that with. But David, do you have any consoles, or do you do any gaming other than RS?
Yeah, I have a PlayStation that I used to play a lot more. I don't play it too much. I played a lot of Skyrim. It came out. That was maybe 2011, 2012. Because I didn't play RS from about 2010 to 2014. I didn't play it whatsoever. So I missed EOC release a couple years after. So I took a really long break.
Good for you. You missed that whole
I was playing Skyrim and Red Dead Redemption. Those are the two games that stick out the most for me.
Yeah. And it says the final call is going to be up to the game developers, but Microsoft is encouraging game developers to do it. So, and I actually think this is a good idea, because when you split it this way, the Xbox One, the new Xbox One with 4K is one of the cheapest ways to get into 4K gaming out there. When you consider that if you want to build a PC that does 4K gaming, you're going to be looking at $700, $800 just for the video card.
Yeah, I was going to say, just for the video card. Yeah, you're looking at like $2,000 probably for a rig like that. Yeah.
I play literally on a potato, so I definitely.
Oh, we saw that. We saw that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send you some of the B-roll for this boss, just so you can see what you're missing out on.
Yeah, well, I've watched some streams. So I've seen sort of what it looks like, but yeah, it just looks like a cube to me, which
I wonder with this though. I remember before I got into actual PC gaming, one of the most intimidating things for me was switching from a controller to the mouse and keyboard. So I wonder if there are a lot of console players like that they're very comfortable with their controllers and they don't want a mouse and keyboard.
I think so too. I think that once you get good with a mouse and keyboard, you realize how good it is. I don't know how. Yeah. How are you gonna four-tick auto attack and prayer flick and eat? On with a controller. I can't.
Yeah, you can't play RS with that.
I have over 30 keybinds. That's a lot.
And there's a reason that Lucio is the number one played character, or at least it was at one point on console Overwatch.
Oh, is that? I don't know. I don't.
Oh, he's a character that basically doesn't need to aim that much for healing and whatnot.
Okay, well that sounds a lot better on a console then. Yeah.
Whereas if you take someone like a Tracer or a Sombra, who are assassins that do need to aim, you're gonna have a much harder time. So.
I know Tracer because of the trailer, right? She's the one that fires really quickly.
Yeah,
so
and I can
that one I know.
back and stuff. So definitely going to be very interesting to see. And once again, blurring the lines between PC and gaming device from Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, would you guys believe it if I told you there's an AI out there that is learning how to play Dota and has beat some professional teams? Or has the aim to beat professional teams?
I would believe that.
So I would believe it because, I mean, that was where AI started, right? Being able to play chess and beat chess masters so, I mean, I believe this, but here's what I want to, like, this is what scares me. So you have an AI that can beat, like, professional Dota teams. That's just what we're seeing. What kind of AI do you really think is out there that playing, like, war games and stuff like that?
It's something that people worry about, but we're in a situation right now where a lot of what people see and think they know about AI is based on the movies like Terminator and whatnot and Space 2001. But in reality right now, AIs are very, very simple, focused on learning simplistic patterns and the like. We're, probably a decade or so away before we see something that's truly transformational in this. But the very fact that this group called OpenAI 5 is looking to this summer defeat these professional Dota 2 teams, it says something out there. There's a $40 million prize pool that they're going to be competing for here. Now, this OpenAI group plays 180 years worth of games against itself every day. And it learns via self-play, and it teaches itself of what to do and not to do. It's using something called proximal policy optimization that runs on, you ready for this? 256 GPUs and 128,000 CPU cores.
Oh, holy
That's a lot more than are in my laptop.
So we're using that kind of computer power to play Dota.
Yeah, as an
instead
API.
Of like,
that's going to teach itself.
Yeah, because that is so much more beneficial than, I don't know, figuring out how to desalinate water or something like that. Like something useful. Okay.
And
what I heard by your timeline is that 10 years from now, robots are going to take over the world. Because you said 10 years from a revolutionary breakthrough, right, Shane? So in 10 years,
I'd say
robots will be our overlords.
And well, no, I wouldn't say that because they're going to be teaching it to do various things along the way. Like to give you an example, back a number of years ago, 2005 and 2010, you would look at your spam box and you would see that normally run by something called a Bayes algorithm, which is in large a statistical algorithm that utilizes signals and whatnot to determine if something is spam. But Google is moving their spam detection over towards something that is more AI-based rather than, signal-based, and that's why it's so good. But back to this game here. They're going to be having their first match against the top players on July 28th, and it's going to be streamed on Twitch as well. So we will definitely be watching this, seeing what they can do with it. They want to look into other games like StarCraft as well, and look at previous other AI milestones like an AI beating chess or Go. Go is a really complex version of chess that you can look at in that regards. So basically what we're seeing here, and they summarize how huge this is that it's a 30 FPS game that runs for about 45 minutes, resulting in 80,000 ticks per game. And most actions like this have a minor impact individually, but some actions like a town portal can affect the game strategically, and strategies can play out over the entire game. So OpenAI is going to be observing every fourth frame, yielding 20,000 moves. And comparing this, chess usually ends in about 40 moves, whereas Go ends in about 150 moves. So you can see the order of magnitude that we're looking at for this here. But if you are at all interested in this and you want to see what they're looking at in terms of compute power or how they're doing this. You can check this all out in the show notes, which you can find at update.rsbnb.com. And there is actually detailed technical specifications behind how they're doing this here if you're interested in the AI and model side of it. I'm not going to go into that now because that's beyond the scope of this piece of tech news. But we'll definitely be watching at the end of July. So maybe one day, David, you'll get an AI to run your Solak kill.
Yeah, definitely. Something like that.
Botting.
Hey, I mean, they already could be using AI to detect bots, so I mean, it might be a fun experience.
I think I disconnected on accident.
No. All right, so our final piece of tech news this week isn't really tech news. It's something that is close to happening. It might not happen, but it is reportedly close here, and that is that Patrick Stewart is close to signing a deal to return to Star Trek as Jean-Luc Picard. And this comes on the news that CBS is looking at expanding the franchise in numerous ways, including more live-action series and potentially an animated series as well. And the reporting coming out of Patrick Stewart and the UK Mirror publication is saying that they have a verbal agreement and they're close to announcing something. And it could potentially be announced at Comic-Con coming up in the tail end of July. So, and you know, a lot of people have been hoping for this because the last Next Generation Crew edition of Star Trek was 2002 with Star Trek Nemesis, which provided no closure and was, when you look at it, probably one of the most horrible movies in the franchise. So there definitely is a lot of people asking for some kind of closure on that front, specifically what happened with Captain Picard, what happened with the Enterprise E, and so on and so forth. We do have some of that through Star Trek Online, but Star Trek Online isn't hard canon. So it's something that people have been wanting for quite some time. And with the huge success of Star Trek Discovery, it makes sense why they want to expand the franchise out that much further. So we're definitely going to be hoping that this results in some kind of live-action series. That's what I'm hoping for. Live-action set after the events of Nemesis, I think, would be good.
This would be, like, so cool because that when I think Star Trek, that's who I think of. You know what I mean? I think of Captain Picard. That was my, when I watched it, that's what I watched. I never really liked this stuff after, and I didn't watch the stuff before.
DS9 is great. You should watch DS9.
See, I watched a few episodes, but I never got into it like I did.
It takes until about the third season for DS9 to get going. Okay,
well, I don't know. There's just... the next gen was, to me, that's Star Trek. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself a Trekkie or a huge fan, but I really liked, I just really liked him as a character, and he looks exactly the same as he did back then.
That's right.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So it would be cool. In fact, it was like it was just a couple days ago. My daughter was watching Reading Rainbow. I'm like, hey, that's Geordi from Star Trek. So I forget his name.
LeVar Burton.
LeVar Burton. There you go. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm seeing all these people again. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yes, indeed it is. So, all right. So we're just gonna have a quick look here at Skill of the Month. Our current crafting skill of the month is going on. Sorensen 57 in first place with 8.1 million XP gained. Pernasius in second with 3.6. Tanisier in third with 432k. And we do have the July skill of the month as strength. So if anyone wants to sign up to that, you still have a few days to do so. RSBANDB.com/SKOTM. You can sign up right there. You just pop your name in, check the CAPTCHA, and away you go. So, yeah, skill of the month. You guys ready? Let's talk about the achievements now.
Right on.
All right. So what do we got for our achievements? I believe you're going to start us off, David.
Yeah, so Borak, 120 Slayer on June 26th. On the same day, Ezel achieved 99 Divination. And Touchpad Pro got 200 mil Herb on June 25th. So congrats on completing a skill.
Right on.
Expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Vigarian Bard on the 25th, getting 99 Firemaking, and Nedga with 99 Constitution on June 22nd. Congratulations to you both.
And on June 21st, we have Lin Su with 99 Prayer. And on June 21st, Lin Su also got 99 Herblore. So, wow, 2 expensive ones there.
Very nice, very nice.
Very nice. And then we have Daydreamer with 99 Runecrafting on June 20th. So, good job, guys.
Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done. All right, so just to shake things up a bit, David, you need to depart shortly. So if you want to tell us anything you've been up to this week on RS aside from the dungeon, go right ahead.
Yeah, I only had time to do the dungeon because I've been working about 10 hours a day this week, so I haven't had much time to do anything else besides like 7 or 8 of the elite dungeons, and then I did a few hours with Shane yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right?
The day before.
Oh, it was the day before. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
All right.
I'm going to have to head out, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it was great having you back, and love talking combat with you. So before you go, just give the Elite Dungeon a quick rating out of 5.
For me, it's a 4 out of 5 because I think that it just has so much potential, and to me, the format is more important than the tuning. The tuning can be figured out later. They really nailed the format, in my opinion.
All right. Well, we'll let you go, David, off to do what you need to do. So thank you once again for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Tanis, what do you got for us in Pick of the Week?
All right. So this week, I am picking a cool little game you may have heard of called Jurassic World Evolution. It came out on June 12th, and I don't know about you, Shane, but I remember when I was a kid, like, dinosaurs were just awesome. And I can remember seeing Jurassic Park at the movies, and it was just, wow. It was just incredible. So this game is essentially a kind of a tycoon-style amusement park management game with dinosaurs. So you have to take care of them. You have to create them by going on expeditions and dig sites and extracting DNA from fossils, and then you can make your dinosaurs. But you also have to make sure they're healthy because there's 48 different species, and they all have different needs and different social needs and different environmental needs and different containment things that you have to do. So all kinds of, you got to do all of that stuff. And then on the other hand, you also have to make money and make it entertaining and have fun for people. And you also need to be able to, stop a rampaging dinosaur that is eating your guest if that happens. And sometimes that does happen.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have just had the best time the last couple of weeks with this game. I've put in probably way too many hours. But what's so fun about it is, like, here I am at my age, and I've got my daughter sitting here with me, and she loves it too. So we can play it together. I mean, and how many games are out there that, a 6-year-old and an adult can play together and
that's
just
a really good
love
mark
it,
of a well-developed game.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it's not the, like, really in-depth strategy of a civilization. And you don't have the uber customization of, like, Planet Coaster where you can design the labels on a cup. But it's really good at what it does, which is having fun. And it does have some challenging situations, where you get dropped on these islands and you're progressively getting tougher. You're starting off with less money and more problems. It's kind of the opposite of more money, more problems. You just end up with more problems and less money. So then it makes it challenging. But the dinosaurs just look incredible. Like I said, there's a lot of them. There's like 48 different species. And if you are maybe let's say, a little less ethical of a person and would like to see what would happen when you put certain dinosaurs in together, well, there's some interesting interactions there that you can check out as well.
So I'm assuming what you're saying is they eat each other.
Uh-huh. You can definitely have dino death matches and see who the real king of the jungle is.
Can you genetically engineer your own? Because I know that was
Yes.
one of the big points in the recent movies.
Yeah, so you can do a lot of genetic engineering. There's actually 2 spaces for hybrids, which I haven't unlocked yet, so I'm not exactly sure how that goes. But as for where I'm at, I'm able to change things like the toughness of their skin, their immunity, their immune response, their hardness of their teeth, aggressiveness, intuitiveness, learning, all kinds of different things like that. And then, of course, other skins, just give them different looks and stuff like that.
All right. So that's Jurassic World Evolution for Pick of the Week. And, I think I'm going to go first in what have we been doing, because this leads nicely into it. And I actually went to go see this movie last weekend. One of the rare times I go see movies, the newest Jurassic World movie. I'm not going to talk about the movie and what I've been doing, because I don't think it's worth being talked about in terms of the depth that there was to it. At least that's the sense that I got from it. I don't know. It was a good action movie. That's what I'll say with it in terms of it being what it is. So, but yeah, aside from that, this week on RS, I have been doing a few Slayer tasks and whatnot, getting closer to 99 Invention. Hopefully, I'll have that by next week. But yeah, just a few elite dungeon runs, herb farming and whatnot, making money back from the various ventures along the way. So, slowly but surely stacking that double XP up in the herb lore skill to lessen the pain of getting that to 120 as well. So, going back to the elite dungeons, it's kind of unfortunate that it's all combat based and there's nothing too much skill related in it compared to actual Daemonheim. So, yeah. All right. What have you been up to this week? I know there's something you wanted to mention that happened when we were doing our dungeon run.
There was one good thing, and I'm glad Shane. I'm glad I was with you, because I probably wouldn't have noticed it at first. But yeah, I got the magic pet, so that was kind of cool. Literally within 5 minutes of
I think we were in
dungeon.
I think we were in the second or third room doing it. So
yeah. So that was really cool. Other than that, I tried them when they came out on Monday and just absolutely got obliterated, and came back and tried it again yesterday. And it was better. It was better with other people, but it was still too much. Other than that, like I said, I've been playing a lot of the Jurassic World. I haven't even seen all the movies. I've only seen the first one. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first Jurassic World one was decent. The second one was okay. So. Well, I believe that finishes this episode of RSBANDB Update. You have anything else, Dennis?
I don't. I just want to just thank all the Patreons, and we'll be letting everyone know what in the month of July when we're planning the extra content. Is that right, Shane?
Yeah. Speaking of the extra content, I can effectively tell everyone right now that our first monthly bite on Patreon will be covering the evolution of combat 6 years later. So
nice.
That's what we're going with for our first monthly bite, which will probably come out in the first or second week of July. When it comes to the video versions of RSBANDB Update, I want to say second to third week of July, probably for those. I still have a couple of technical kinks that need to be ironed out, and I need to light the room and whatnot as well, because it's not lit very well right now, and I want to make sure that that's right before we begin that. So, but we are well on the track to doing that. So with that being said, this has been RSBANB Update, and we'll see you next week for another show, everyone. If you want full show notes in the meantime, update.rsbnb.com. We're also in Friends Chat Bits Bytes if you want to hang out with us there in-game, and Twitter at RSBNB, where we post things throughout the week, including Tanis's Informer article. That'll be up soon, and an Informer article from Sirion on the Elite Dungeons as well that you can look forward to this weekend. So with that being said, we'll see you next week for another episode of RSBB Update, everyone.
Bye-bye.